What's up, Facebook? UMS Movement Mastermind in the house. Today we are talking about the secret to happiness, why progress equals happiness. This is a huge topic, super pumped, and we're also going to talk about some big news. New phase of the UMS at Home program is dropping tomorrow. I'm going to tell you guys how you can get your hands on that and a lot more. We're answering a few cool questions as well that have come through, and more coming up right after this. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
What's up, everyone? In case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister. That's my brother Yanni Burmeister. We're the co-founders of Unity Gym and the co-creators of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, where we turn driven people into superhumans. And the way we get such astonishing results with our members is that we've created a program that has a balance between strength and flexibility. If you want to know how we do it, grab one of the blueprints, the free blueprints. There's the strength, flexibility, and nutrition blueprint. There's a link in the description of this video for all of them. And also, if you haven't done so, come and join our UMS Movement Mastermind Facebook group. Just search Facebook for UMS Movement Mastermind, where we go live with these shows every day.
Every single day. No, we don't. It's not live on Saturday or Sunday here, Sydney time, but it's every other day.
And today we're talking about a topic that is near and dear to us, and you know, it's of course the title of this video, why progress equals happiness. It's something that some people may agree with and some people may have never heard of the concept before. But what Yanni and I were just scratching our brains before we went live to try to remember which one of the dozens of books that we've read this came from. And we think it either came from a book called Delivering Happiness, which is a really amazing book. Tony
Hsieh, founder of Zappos, which is an amazing company over in America.
It might have also come from The Happiness Advantage.
Yeah.
Remember that book? And the other book that we think it may have come from is Drive. So they're three of the many books that we've read that we think it may have come from.
They all talk about this concept anyway.
Yeah, they talk about this concept that one of the things that has shown in the workplace to really produce happiness in an individual is progress. People feeling like they're making progress day in, day out, week in, week out, month in and year in. It's not progress trumps financial gain for delivering happiness every time they've found. They've found that people that have a lot of financial freedom but that aren't feeling like they're progressing in key markers in their life, that they're not as happy as people that don't have the same financial freedom but are progressing in key markers.
I think it completely depends on what your goals are. If your goal is to level up your financial, your net worth, then seeing progress in that will deliver deliver happiness.
Of course, but you just talked about seeing progress in it. I'm talking about somebody that just has a massive amount of financial abundance, and we've been given these examples for decades. This is nothing new. You know, these examples of these people that are filthy rich that are really, quite miserable. They're not happy, and then there's people that aren't very financially well off that are very, very happy. And I've heard this before. It might be anecdotal. Somebody might chime in and say that's rubbish. Yanni, you might say it's rubbish, or somebody might confirm it. But I've heard that when they've surveyed people from around the world, that the average level of happiness is highest in Nigeria. Have you heard that before?
No.
It was in an African country that wasn't as wealthy as a lot of other countries, and
I know that when they I love the word they.
Yeah, this is a random.
Who is they?
Well, but it'd be researchers, right?
Yeah,
researchers, so psychologists, a group of psychologists, and I've seen a. You know what? I can definitely say where I have seen this. There was a documentary on Netflix, and every documentary on Netflix is factual, so you have to believe it.
No, just like the Game Changers.
That's right. But it was a documentary on happiness, and it was well put together, and the way that they presented their conclusions was pretty good. They travelled the world and had a look at what causes happiness and what causes misery and stress. And they talked about it in that. They talked about that some of the happiest people in the world come from third world countries, and they talk about what the markers of happiness are. And
I've certainly read about it somewhere. But anyway, neither or. The book that had the most profound effect on me on this regard was reading Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness. I actually was lucky enough to go over and very, very briefly sort of meet the guy. I went to Zappos. We did a tour of the Zappos company. I can't remember if we actually met Tony Shea. I don't think we did. We got shown around by one of his colleagues, and it was a really beautiful book. If you haven't read it, check it out. It's called Delivering Happiness, and he, became extremely successful in business and wealthy, and it chronicles the story of him starting this company. It's actually starting two companies and exiting both, or not exiting both, but the acquisition of both. He sold Zappos to Amazon for $2.2 billion, and it's just a beautiful story. But he talks about this whole process of self-discovery, the journey he went on, and what where happiness comes from. And we are firm believers of harnessing what's referred to as intrinsic motivation. We do that through our UMS program. We find that if you can combine something that's very healthy, which is daily doses of a very balanced exercise program, and combine that with this intrinsic motivation of what happens when you see progression in phases of unlocking new skills, the neural development that occurs when you're doing things that you normally couldn't do or wouldn't do, and when you link all that together, it's quite it has a very unique power, a far superior to just pumping iron in a gym where you're just, judging yourself based on how someone else looks and how you want to look in the mirror and this sort of thing. That becomes quite benign after a while and sort of unfulfilling and empty, as opposed to striving for progression in your body's performance in the way in the things that you can do. It becomes very deeply motivating, intrinsically motivating, and very rewarding on a joy perspective, on a joy scale, and more so than anything, I've trained for bodybuilding before. I've trained purely for aesthetics before. I've trained purely for performance before as an amateur boxer, and I've dabbled in other sports as well, soccer and rugby league. But the sport I was most heavily engrossed in for a long period of my life was boxing, and that was, very rewarding. But at the end of the day, it's not you versus you, it's you versus your opponent. And there are just certain circumstances, I found out a lot, that you are just not as good as the other person, and you get your ass kicked. And in boxing, it's like black and white. If you're either as good or not as good or better, and if you're one of the latter, if you're one of the earlier, if you're not as good or as good, most of the time it's quite painful, But when you're training for something like calisthenics or in the UMS program, it's you versus you the whole way. No comparison, because your body's unique, your body's different to everybody else's. It functions differently. It's got a different history. It's got a different track record, different level of conditioning, different joint structure in many cases, different lever length. You might have long legs, short torso like me, or a long torso, short legs like Rad, or just long everything like Richard. Everyone's got these little nuances. The biggest of the dicks. Everyone's got these little nuances and idiosyncrasies and physical, uniqueness that makes it very much a process of you self-discovering you and your body and overcoming your limitations and exploiting your strengths, And I really like that. It's very intrinsically motivating when it's broken back down to just being you versus you and how you perform, not in comparison to everyone else.
Yeah, it's...
I went off on a real tangent there, didn't I?
You sure did, yeah. I was wondering when you were coming back. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to tie that back into what we're meant to be talking about. But, look, that's what our whole program is designed for. It's designed to demonstrate progression in an individual, and the people that stick to it and turn up and do the work, they see phenomenal progression. And we've seen it time and time again. Our senior students that have been with us for a while just absolutely love what we do, because they have a feeling of, they lose fat, they become more muscular, they become more flexible, they become stronger, they learn how to do things like pull-ups and muscle-ups and pancakes and handstands that they've never been able to do before. They learn correct lifting technique for weightlifting, and they start being able to lift heavy weights without hurting themselves. It's a really, really amazing feeling. And what we wanted to talk about today is that tomorrow the phase 2 of the at-home workouts drops, and that is you are going to experience a feeling of progression if you jump on and grab those. We're going to be progressing the movements. Some of the movements we're going to introduce some more challenging ways that our more senior members our stronger and more flexible people can still challenge themselves. And we're also going to be in the tutorials explaining how some of our more beginners can be progressing the movements and going on to the next thing. And we're also going to be adding in some completely new movements. So this feeling of, people are talking about how much they love these at-home workouts and what they're getting out of them. The point will come eventually when you'll start to become bored, when you do the same thing. You plateau. And when that happens, you start looking for what the next thing is. And this is what the next thing is. The next thing is the phase 2 workouts. So I want to make it clear as well. I've said this in the introductory video. This is not, you don't have to get the phase 1 workouts if you didn't do them. You can join straight into the phase 2 program as a complete beginner. But if you've been doing the phase 1 workouts and enjoying them, then these are going to be absolutely essential. It is because, as always, the workouts that I do on YouTube are a follow-along routine. There's very little instruction. There's certainly this is how you progress and regress the movement, and that's essential to do. You really need to know that. And of course, if you get this, you're going to be helping us to survive this coronavirus, massive disruption to small businesses that's causing so many small gyms to close.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I think this is a cool opportunity to talk about how our program comes together and how it works, because this concept of progression can be a little bit stifling for people, especially people who are coming into our ecosystem for the very first time, because it's a vast ecosystem. There's a lot that you can access and that you can do, and the people that are subscribers of the UMS online coaching get access to everything, and at the moment we're going through a huge rebuild of the whole program and process to improve the experience, to make it easier to understand. We've done an iteration last year, and now we're doing a really big iteration where we're investing heavily in it. And I think that it is important that people understand, we talk about the foundations program, we talk about the progressions program, and then there's 2 more legs to all of this. There's the rehabilitation, UMS rehabilitation, and there's also the masterclasses, the add-ons that you can add to the program later on once you achieve a certain level of baseline strength and flexibility, And how all that comes together for a new person it's important to understand that. And it's important to understand that this is the essence of a good program. A good program, like anything, is never finished. It never stops. It's not a process of starting and completing. It's a process of continually progressing. And from a strength and conditioning principle standpoint, it's referred to as the principle of progressive overload. And it is arguably, and we talk about this a lot, especially in our UMS Strength and Flexibility Essentials mini course, that the guys in the online program, the subscription, get access to. It is arguably the most important principle of strength and conditioning.
Yeah, it's something that I learnt and sort of understood intrinsically from a very young age. I was always drawn to something that I could see progression in, and coming to the development, the creation of the UMS from the 2 of us and Richie it was always about the idea of creating something that we could take somebody from an absolute beginner or intermediate or advanced level and give them a path to movement mastery. And it's a really exciting thing for me. I just don't get motivated by something if I'm not able to pursue mastery in it, and if it's not something that I feel like, okay, there's this goal of something that I can achieve that's on a really high level. So yeah, it's really, really cool that's what our program does. It's cool that many people around the world are enjoying it. And tomorrow is going to be your chance to, if you haven't been training, definitely, even anybody that's been, doing any of our standalone programs but has never gone into the actual UMS program itself, tomorrow will be your opportunity to really see what progression looks like. The way that a periodized program works, the way that there's elements of the program that are still the same, that are still there, but there's a lot of things that change, and they change to create a different stimulus in the body so that you continue to see adaptation, you continue to get stronger, you continue to get more flexible, all of those cool things.
Now, just to add to what I said before, we've designed this program so that it helps as many people as possible, from an elite level athlete to someone who's got a compromised body. So we have a series of these rehab programs, and the way we're building it out is that you're gonna answer a quick quiz, 5 questions. It's going to direct you in the path that you need most. That may be that you start doing a rehab program, or you start doing you go straight into the foundations program, or you may even qualify to go straight into the progressions program. But the idea behind the progressions program is that we are teaching you how to fish now. It's not about just laying out a workout for you anymore. It's about teaching you how to design your own workouts based on your own body's needs and your little nuances, physical and so on. And so our goal this year is to really streamline the process of how that all works and how people come into that ecosystem. But it's so important to understand that our entire philosophy is built into our program of progressive overload, coming from whether you're working on a rehabilitation side of things, and we're going to call it the regressions program, the foundations program, or the progressions program. We don't like to stigma rehab, because rehab, the successfully overcoming an issue in the body, a compromised joint or muscle or tendon, it's a lot mindset. It's very, very important that you understand that pain comes from the brain, and if you are putting yourself into this bucket of I'm hurt, I'm injured, I'm in rehab, then it's very hard to progress out of that. It stifles your progress immediately when you start to think like that. So that's a culmination of us working with some great physiotherapists. But I want to just point out something here, and it's really cool because Grace Clements, who was on the live stream this morning doing the workout, she's one of our newer tribe members, said, I wanted to highlight this nugget of wisdom on what life is all about from Yanni in today's live workout. Happiness comes from progress. Happiness doesn't come from things, objects. It comes from making progress in life. When you pursue personal development and growth, that is the fastest way to experience extreme joy and happiness, which is quoted from what I said this morning. As a beginner, I'm not, and this is her personally sharing, as a beginner, I'm not so much deloading. For those of you who aren't following on to the workouts, we're deloading this week. RAD is deloading, meaning reducing the amount of volume to prepare for the next phase of the program. As I am only actually able to complete a deload level of workout as my max effort, main focus is on form and getting the movements right, which is absolutely spot on what she should be doing as a beginner, and celebrating the many little wins of going from confusion and frustration to being able to do more elements and a greater percentage of the workouts each week. Thank you again so much for doing these live workouts. Love what you guys do and what you stand for. Now, I don't know if you two remember Grace, we did a show for a couple of months ago in regards to just getting started. Mm-hmm. She was struggling with overwhelm on how to get started. And so I just want to point out to everyone watching, only a few short months ago, Grace she'd bought a program and she'd never started it. I think she even had it sitting there for about 6 months, and she was unable to get started because she was stifled by where she was starting from, and she was comparing herself to where she wanted to be, not what the first step would look like, which stops a lot of people from starting and executing. And And I want to give her a special shout out because, you know, by the sounds of that and by the sounds of the fact that she's absolutely crushing the whole concept here, which is it's just you versus you. It's you doing your best efforts based on where you're at right now. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing, you know. You just make sure that you're leveling up 1% every day. You're doing a little bit more every day. And you know, Grace, massive shout out to you because that is absolutely, you know, I'm glad that you latched onto what I said there in that live stream because it really is important. You know, we chase materialistic things our entire life only to find out just before we die that they're meaningless and absolutely did nothing for our true intrinsic joy and happiness, you know. And if you can learn at an earlier stage in your life that you get happiness not from the things you can purchase or hold in your hand, but from the things that your body experiences, from the process of progressing through certain goals in your life. That's where the joy comes from, you know? And I think, yeah, you're well ahead of the pack if you're realizing that already.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, so jump on tomorrow, guys. Get the phase 2 programs and join in with me on something that is going to definitely make you feel like you are moving closer and closer towards that goal of superhuman strength and superhuman flexibility.
Yeah, I want to just quickly, before we finish up, because we did welcome about 185 new people into the UMS Movement Mastermind over the last week or two. And a lot of people have commented in this post with, you know, their own personal challenges, most of them physical. You know, I've seen people talking about a clicking scapula. I've seen people talking about a locked up thoracic spine. I've seen people talking about niggles in knees, elbows, things like that. I cannot stress to you all enough, and I think this is something that Rad and I can easily wrap this show up discussing, is that no matter what, and I know that this sounds like a blanket statement, but this is not just coming from me. This is coming from some of the world's best physiotherapists that we are lucky enough to have exposure to and work with ourselves, and people who have treated us. It's really important that we don't get too fixated on compartmentalizing the one thing that you feel is not going perfectly well for you. It's really important that you understand that just the best thing you can possibly do for yourself is to focus on the process of getting your body moving in a unified way. Strength, flexibility, and a little bit of cardiovascular fitness every day. I cannot stress to you enough how much, if you manage the load that you expose your body to and do that 5 days a week, you are going to see all of those issues iron out over time.
Yep.
It's never going to happen overnight. You cannot expect a lifetime of neglect to this point to be fixed in a matter of days, weeks, or even months. It's going to come in the right time for you based on where your body's at right now. Just focus on the process. Just focus on the process. If you haven't already, you know, if you're feeling stiff and tight, pick up our 18-minute stretching routine or mobility masterclass. If you're ready to really go all in, you can pick up our Foundations program as a standalone. If you don't want to subscribe to the UMS online coaching and get access to everything, you can pick up the Foundations program now as a standalone. Now, that was a really big deal for us to launch that as a standalone product because it's one of the things that gives us the best results with people, you know, and we really wanted to keep it for our UMS online coaching tribe only. But we made the decision last year to release it as a standalone for people because it just gets such good results. But you just need to train in a balanced manner. Drop the concept of specialization because that's what generally leads to issues in the first place, meaning I just want to fix this. I just want to get stronger at this. I just want to get a bigger bench press, a better squat, a heavy deadlift. I just want to pack on 20 pounds of lean muscle.
Well, we all tried it. We all tried it and it didn't work. Everyone that we know, including ourselves, we've gone through it. We've both tried to train in a way where it was, I just want to get this goal. And it leads to a broken body. And everybody has these, it's funny because at the gym it's so much easier for us, but people come to us with injuries all the time. And because I've been doing this for so long now, people come in and, I've got this injury and I've got that injury. And the only thing I'd really ascertain quickly is anything that in this workout that I'm going to do with you, is it going to make you worse? And it's so rare that answer is yes. It's always just like people come in saying, I've got a bulging disc in my back, or I've got a herniated disc and I'm really afraid of, like we're doing deadlifts today, what can I do? And I say, deadlifts.
Yeah.
But you're going to do it with very light weight. And they go, well, what do you mean? I said, well, start with an 8 kilo bar. It'll feel like you're doing nothing, but you're going to take your body through the movement. And I can think of one of our members, Nick. I can't remember his last name, but Nick was one of the most recents. He started in January, and he was so scared of doing any kind of deadlifting. And even like the Jefferson curl, he said, oh man, I can't do this. And I said, look, the Jefferson curl is something that has a high risk for you, but guess what? You're going to do it with no weight.
Yeah.
So you're going to go through the movement, but you're going to do it without weight. 6 weeks later, he was telling me how he couldn't believe it. He was deadlifting 60 kilos, and he said his back's never felt so good. And the look of fear on his face was gone.
Yeah.
And that's just one of many. That's just the most recent example. So
this sorry to cut you off. It comes into the concept of having this injury identity that Phil Switched On Physio, who's our resident physio here, talks about all the time. People who have what compartmentalizing your issue or thing is, it creates an injury identity. Mm-hmm. It creates, your identity becomes this thing that you're trying to fix, or that you see as wrong with your body. And it's not the answer, usually, to just focus on fixing that thing. Mm. The answer is to focus on, I like to say as an analogy, it'd be like me as an amateur boxer. I'm trying to make it to my goal as a child growing up, like many amateur athletes, was to make it to the Olympics, represent your country, do all that. I was never good enough. That's why I never made it. But it's like me saying to my coach, I just need to learn one punch. That one punch is going to make it so that I can knock people out and I can win fights, And he would look at me and go, that's ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as it sounds. Mm. Learning how to do one punch is not going... You need to learn how to move. You need to learn how to evade punches more than you need to learn how to knock someone out in boxing. Anyone can throw a punch. Anyone can throw one punch. But it's very few people that can move out of the way of that punch, And, it's about learning the art of boxing, not just learning how to punch. And exercise is the same thing. If you're experiencing discomfort somewhere, or you've compromised a joint because you've got structural imbalances there, so balance your body. Work on a structural balance program and iron out all those deficiencies. Mm-hmm. And trust me, the thing will go away. The body is incredibly good at healing itself unless you get in its way, Mm-hmm. So what you're trying to do is get out of its way by removing those structural imbalances. Yep. And you don't just do it on a compartmental level. You do it everywhere. Yep. You do it it doesn't matter whether your injury's in your shoulder, you're still structurally balancing your legs, And I think that's the big take home for all of our new tribe members out there who have an issue, or they're not just here to learn flexibility, they're here because they've got an injury that hasn't been able to be fixed. The reason why probably it hasn't been able to be fixed is because you're chasing that injury. Yeah. You've created an injury identity for yourself. Yeah. Just focus on leveling up in all areas of your body: flexibility, strength, stamina, balance yourself. You might need to shelve your ego and go back to the start and do a structural balance program, or a regressions program where you're relearning the stability system, you're reactivating the stability systems in your shoulders, your hip, your knees, your feet, wherever that issue is presenting. And trust me, it will come good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it, guys. If you want to hear more of Yanni talking, you can tune in tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. No, we're going to finish our deload week tomorrow at 7 a.m. and then for our last show for the week. And get ready for that Phase 2 at-home workouts program. It's going to be awesome.
All right, guys.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked it, consider subscribing to our channel and make sure you click the notification bell so you know when our weekly videos are uploaded. Now, the best thing for you to do if you want to stay connected with us and get free online coaching is to join our private Facebook group. It's called the UMS Movement Mastermind, and we go live daily where we answer our members' questions. It's very interactive because you can post questions while we're live and we interact with with you on the show. You can also upload videos or pictures of yourself with any movements, any stretches, strength training movements, calisthenics, weightlifting, anything that you're struggling with, and we'll critique you, give you feedback, let you know how you can get better. It's a really valuable resource. It allows a lot of communication with us and also our senior tribe members. You'll get answers very, very quickly, and it's absolutely free. So jump on Facebook, search for UMS Movement Mastermind and join now. Until next time, have a great day.